God's alone, and God alone knows what's in our hearts. And some person perhaps who doesn't always pray 5 times a day, but it is down at a homeless shelter helping people, or is doing wonderful things in the world, God may take that as a form of prayer and say, I value that and I honor that.
There's a very famous statement in Jewish literature which has God saying to Moses, Moses, better that they should forget me than to forget my commandments. That is, that if you need to make a choice, then it's how we treat other people and how we treat the world that becomes the most important thing.
And what the Reverend, you said actually is, frankly, I would say how I was also raised in that belief within the family, that there is something completely mysterious about God that we don't know about. And what we call sinners, what part of his action God may like so much that he forgives everything else. That sense of mystery about God has to exist as part of our faith. Yes. Time's running short, so I have to come to a sort of a shaking us to a reality type of a question. What happens, Dr. Anwar, if there is, God forbid, another attack that we've always dreaded in mainland United States of America? What do you think happens to the Muslim community at that time?
Actually, this is a very scary scenario, but if you look at the Department of Defense reports, they are stating that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so that's also another scary part of the reality. How we look at it is, and what we suggest to the American Muslim community is that the work to do is to do it right now. And what I would say in front of a larger crowd is that, look, God forbid something happened today. If the people attack you, God forbid, the vigilantes within the communities or other people who showing their anger in a different way, and then they come to a point where they're not as tolerant, would you be able to stand in a place where if one person or 2 people attack you, there'll be 100 people standing in front of you? And those 100 people would be the people you have interacted with, who know you as a person, who are willing to stand up for you. And those 100 people should also include the law enforcement agencies. That's their job, but the law enforcement agencies should be able to say, look, I know Shahryar, he's a good guy. I have worked with him, I respect him, I know his values. And I think that is what we have to do and this is the time to do the groundwork. For each community member out there has to reach out to the neighbors, and it's a responsibility. And if you look at the probability of the threat, it's scaringly there. And the other thing is that even from the Pakistani American community, if you look at this community, the 9/11 attack, Pakistan had nothing to do with it. All the people were from different backgrounds, and guess what? Which was the number one community which suffered? Just because we are more in number, we are more prominent, we are much more active, and we are visible. And that results in a backlash towards the most visible and the more prominent of the communities, which may be mistaken for that identity.
So there's something that you're saying the community can do now. They should develop close relationships within the community,
yes,
with other law enforcement agencies. Reverend and Rabbi, what would you...
I think that to pick up on what Dr. Anwar has said, because I have come to know him, that if God forbid there is an attack like that, I will be standing next to him. Because I know him, I respect him, and I'm able to make the distinction between those criminals that would foment and do such a terrible thing that has nothing to do with him. And I think the more that we get to know each other and respect each other, the more we're able to make those distinctions.
So I have 99 other people to work on.
I was going to say, I'll be there and I'll bring my congregation.
That's part of it.
Yes, we live in community, and we need to draw all people of goodwill together around these issues, because we all have an investment in it. It's not if a member of the Muslim community is attacked, it affects all of us, and it's a blow to all of us, and we all have a stake in being concerned and tolerating.
I'll share an experience with you. Because of a recent hate crime about a few months ago, a Pakistani American was murdered in Connecticut. And at a very short notice, like within about a few hours' time, we had leadership of the Jewish Americans and Christian American leadership, rabbi. Everybody was in line, standing in front of the camera and standing up and saying that we would not allow this in our homeland. We are not going to allow this in the United States, and made a statement, including the leadership. The Attorney General of the state came up, and that's what happens is that would happen only if you build relationship. Now, if somebody is in the corner who is not even out there and is marginalized, they're actually setting themselves up for being suspicious, if you will. And there is a suspicion because we have to realize that in the world that we are living in and the media that we are listening to, there is a lot of negative perception about Islam and the Muslims. And a lot of it is not unfounded, but there is some reality to it as well. Let's be honest. And that